Good afternoon. It's Wednesday, July 27th. I'm Laura Cornfield, and this is IBA News, broadcasting from Jerusalem. In our top story, security forces overnight shot dead the terrorist who murdered Rabbi Michael Mark in a drive-by shooting along Road 60 near Othniel at the start of the month. He was killed in an exchange of fire with IDF forces during an overnight raid in the West Bank town of Tzurif. Other terror suspects involved in the attack have also been arrested. IBA's Margot Dudkevich has the story.
Special forces from the elite Duvdevan unit, together with Shin Bet operatives and police, raided the Palestinian town Tzurif, north of Hebron, before dawn. Security forces surrounded the three-story building where Mohammed Faqih was hiding and called on him to surrender. He opened fire at troops, who in response fired an anti-tank missile at the building he was holed up in, partially destroying it. His body was found in the rubble, and near it homemade grenades and a Kalashnikov rifle. Bulldozers later demolished the building. During the operation, several other terror suspects were arrested. Fierce clashes and gun battles erupted between soldiers and Palestinians, causing a power outage in nearby Palestinian villages. Palestinian media reports said 3 locals were injured in the unrest. The breakthrough that led to the arrests of cell members occurred several days after the deadly shooting attack in which Rabbi Mark was murdered and his wife and 2 of his children injured when shots were fired at their vehicle near Othniel, causing it to overturn. IDF forces arrested Majid Amira, a member of the Palestinian security forces from Dura, who admitted to having driven the car used in the attack. He revealed that Faqih, a resident of Dura, perpetrated the shooting and had been incarcerated in Israel in the past for his ties to the Islamic Jihad. He said Faqih later became a member of Hamas. Amira's confession led to the arrest of 2 other terrorists, relatives of Faqih, who helped him to hide. Information gleaned by investigators revealed the location of Faqih's hideout in Tzurif. Rabbi Mark's family said they were shocked to learn that one of the terrorists was a member of the Palestinian security forces, and others had been incarcerated in Israel in the past, and said they demand answers on the issues from the authorities. Margot Dudkevich, IBA News.
Police arrested 2 members of the Waqf this morning, the Muslim authority in charge of the Al-Aqsa Mosque on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem's Old City. The 2 are suspected of attacking a group of Jewish visitors permitted to visit the holy site. According to reports, clashes erupted after Waqf officials approached the group of Jewish archaeologists walking on the eastern side of the Temple Mount and demanded they leave after one of the archaeologists picked up some olives that were laying on the ground. When the group refused, Waqf officials allegedly began attacking them. The Temple Mount is the site of frequent clashes between Muslim worshippers and security forces, as well as attacks on Jewish groups permitted to visit the site. The Palestinians accuse Israel is trying to change the status quo. Former Defense Minister Moshe Ya'alon today lashed out at those who openly support Sergeant Elar Azaria, the IDF soldier who faces charges of manslaughter for shooting a neutralized terrorist in Hebron in March without waiting for the outcome of his military trial. Speaking at a conference at Bar Ilan University, Ya'alon accused the country's leadership of trying to divide the nation. He said all those taking part in the campaign to back Azaria are deliberately harming the core values of the IDF and its commanders. He added that such campaigns underestimate the regulations and decision-making process of commanders in the field. Fortunately, Ya'alon said, the commanders are not confused and continue to operate according to their taught values and not talkbacks on social media. Ya'alon apparently directed his words at incumbent defense minister Avigdor Lieberman, who earlier this week criticized him, saying he made a big mistake by determining from the outset that the soldier was wrong before the inquiry had begun. Responding to the criticism, Ya'alon said, "I am not the head of a gang trying to put pressure on the court." Similar remarks were made by IDF Chief of General Staff, Lieutenant General Gadi Eisenkot, who also criticized what he called political interference in the army. Speaking at the Knesset Foreign Affairs and Defense Committee, Eisenkot said the greatest threat facing the IDF is the loss of public trust. IBA's Ari O'Sullivan has that story.
Chief of General Staff Gadi Eisenkot has been keeping it in for some time, but when he appeared before the Knesset's Foreign Affairs and Defense Committee, he finally let it out. He, like all of his predecessors, doesn't like the political interference into the Army's internal affairs, particularly the support being given to Sergeant Elor Azaria for shooting an incapacitated terrorist in Hebron. We want the IDF to follow orders, he said, the rules of engagement, the spirit of the IDF's ethical code, and the values of the IDF. If someone wants us to have the ethos of a gang, they should say so, Eisenkot told them. He refused to give names, saying it was all on the internet. Countering those who have scorned the IDF as becoming weak, Eisenkot revealed the aggressive pressure of the army in the territories. We have killed 166 terrorists in the West Bank in the last 10 months and arrested over 3,200 Palestinians, he said. It is said that the IDF is weak. That is simply a lie, he told the Knesset members. He added that there is a growing understanding among the Palestinians that choosing terrorism is pointless. He spoke as IDF forces were waging a gun battle with the killers of Michael Mark in the village of Tzarif as part of its ongoing war on Arab terror. The committee yesterday also approved a resolution by Chairman Avi Dichter in support of the Chief of Staff and Army commanders and calling to keep the identities of soldiers banned from publication until they are indicted. Ariel Sullivan for IBA News.
The wounds from the 2014 Gaza war are still fresh for some, and two bereaved fathers heckled the Prime Minister during yesterday's memorial ceremony marking the second anniversary of Operation Protective Edge. They interrupted Netanyahu's speech, demanding the formation of a state commission of inquiry on how the military campaign was waged. One accused the Prime Minister of harming democracy. Netanyahu paused in his speech and told the hecklers that as a bereaved brother himself and as Prime Minister, he did everything in his power to prevent exposing soldiers to unnecessary dangers. President Reuven Rivlin also addressed the gathering and said that any negotiations on the humanitarian situation among the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip needs to include the return of the remains of fallen soldiers Oron Shaul and Hadar Goldin. The Israel Lands Authority today published 4 building tenders for the construction of 323 housing units in Jerusalem neighborhoods considered to be located over the Green Line. 130 of the units are located in Har Choma, 89 units in Gilo, 68 in Pisgat Zev, and 36 in Neve Yaakov. The authority noted that attempts to market the housing units 2 years ago failed and that a decision was made to try again. According to reports, the new construction in Pisgat Zev will expand the neighborhood in the direction of the East Jerusalem Beit Hanina neighborhood. The move is expected to draw condemnation against Israel. A courthouse for traffic offenses and small claims will be established in Taibe, the third largest Israeli Arab town in the country. The decision comes amid Israeli efforts to integrate the Israeli Arab sector and boost services in its communities. Details were announced by Justice Minister Ayelet Shaked during a visit to the town yesterday, where she met with the mayor and local dignitaries. Talking to reporters, Shaked said she strongly advocates coexistence and equality. Soya Menzura, the mayor of Taibe, welcomed the decision, but also called on police to crack down on illegal weapons, which he says threatens the safety of the town's residents. Locals said they would postpone celebrations until the actual ribbon-cutting ceremony takes place, hopefully within 2 years' time. Taibe is located in the Triangle region, several kilometers east of Kfar Saba in central Israel. While it appears that the government is taking concrete steps to improve conditions in the Arab sector, yesterday's personal appeal by the Prime Minister to the Arab population caught many by surprise. Netanyahu released 2 YouTube videos, one in Hebrew and one in English, in which he urged the country's 1.65 million Arab citizens to further engage in society. Joining me now from our Tel Aviv studio to discuss this and other developments is Arab affairs expert Wadia Abu Nassar. Wadia, thank you so much for joining us.
Good evening.
The Prime Minister wants you to become more involved in Israel's success. What do you say to him?
Well, I say that it needs two to tango. I believe that the government, which is like the parents of all inhabitants of the country, has to hug its children, its Arab population. And I believe that the Prime Minister has to dedicate more attention to this community. I believe that his message is a right step in the right direction, but still need a lot of action on the ground, especially in terms of affirmative action policies towards reducing the gap of discrimination and inequality in the society.
Wadia, what do you make of his apology for the comments before the election when he said Arab voters were going to the polls in droves? Why now, a year and a half after he made the offensive remarks?
Well, it's quite interesting that it took him quite a long time to make this apology, although that this, for some, it looks as if being half apology. It is quite interesting, the timing. There are several explanations. You know, some of the explanations that I have heard from different scholars is that this is linked to the tendency of the prime minister also with the regional players to show that as he is a man of peace, if he is approaching all Arabs within the country, outside the country, and as if he is interested to make a dramatic positive change in Israel's relations with its Arab citizens as with its Arab neighbors.
His address was also delivered in English. Do you think it was directed to the international community?
Indeed, indeed. And I believe, as I told you previously, it seems that this message is not only to the Arab citizens. It seems that this message also is dedicated to Arab neighbors as to the international community, because, as you probably know, many people in the international community were wondering, and some are still wondering, how Netanyahu is tolerant towards Arabs, including Arab citizens, especially with different challenges that his government is posing, like the issue of the so-called Kaminitz report about house demolition in the Arab sector, concerning the 10 billion shekels grant, which is not seen yet. And there are many other challenges, such as, for instance, the unresolved issues of Christian schools in the country.
Wadia, many in the Arab leadership quickly rejected Netanyahu's extended hand and his apology. They called it insincere. Joint List Chairman Ayman Odeh lashed out at the Prime Minister. He said, "We don't want to be second-class citizens in a racist and occupying state." He even charged that the Prime Minister regularly incites against the Arab public. Can such gaps in approach ever be bridged? And what needs to happen for us really to achieve coexistence and equality?
Well, I believe that the solution is not only in terms of budget. Many people are saying, you know, it is difficult to overcome a gap of 68, 69 years within few months of funding, etc. I believe what is needed mainly is sincere attitudes by the Prime Minister himself and by the government ministers towards the entire population with the different components of the Israeli society, Arabs and non-Arabs alike. And I believe it is important that the Prime Minister to make some gestures, like hosting some Arab dignitaries at his residence, like visiting more the Arab communities, like listening to needs of the various components of the society. And I believe that there are some things, you know, I can tell you, I learned that the church leaders asked to meet the Prime Minister. It would be interesting if the Prime Minister would reply positively to this request and meet them, and this could be, in my humble opinion, a clear indicator by the Prime Minister if he is serious or not.
What do you think of the recently approved impeachment bill, which Arab lawmakers say is directly aimed at them?
Well, I believe that, again, I don't want to judge Arab lawmakers or different attitudes, you know, but I believe that there is a certain gap sometimes of misunderstanding between the Arab community and the Israeli establishment, and also between the Arab community and the Jewish community with all its components. I believe it is up to the government. I believe also it is up to the Arab society to invest more efforts for improved bilateral understanding. But again, as I said previously, it is the government who is like the parents who should do more in order to have improved ties and better relations. And I believe that there is a place to hug the Arab lawmakers instead of pushing them to the margins.
But how can we accept that Arab lawmakers visit the families of terrorists and refer to them as martyrs, and we have to accept this with understanding?
Well, again, you know, there are different Arab lawmakers with different attitudes to things, as there are, you know, Jewish lawmakers who are hugging some Jewish terrorists and sometimes even justifying anti-Arab violence in a way or another, like the support to the shooter in Hebron. Again, I don't justify that. I understand that, but I don't agree. But still, you know, we have tolerance is also about how much we can somehow tolerate to have different opinions, even with those that we don't like or disagree. However, I believe that better relations, improved understanding between the various communities would minimize such kind of disagreements and would minimize such kind of what could be considered to be provocative actions by this side or the other.
Wadia Abu Nassar, thank you as always for being our guest tonight.
Good evening.
A 57-year-old Israeli man suffered moderate injuries after a bomb exploded in his car in central Jerusalem this morning. The blast that rocked the city occurred near the Dan Panorama Hotel. Magen David Adom medics treated the man who was conscious and transferred to Hadassah Hospital in Ein Kerem. Police described the incident as an apparent settling of accounts in the underworld and have launched an investigation. The Haifa Magistrates Court extended the remand of 17 members of the La Familia organization, supporters of the Beitar Jerusalem Football Club, who were arrested Tuesday overnight in a mass crackdown on violence. 8 of the members are suspected of attempting to murder a fan of rival soccer team Hapoel Tel Aviv, who was seriously injured after the group allegedly attacked him with an axe. Over 50 members of La Familia were arrested Tuesday on suspicion of selling weapons, engaging in various acts of violence, and smuggling firecrackers and inflammable material into football fields. During the raid, police seized 20 stun grenades, a kilogram of explosive material, and nearly 24 gas, smoke, and improvised grenades, as well as some 30 flares. 6 members of the detained group are soldiers, and police are investigating whether some of the weapons seized belong to the IDF. Moving abroad, and now it's official. Hillary Clinton has been formally nominated as the Democratic presidential candidate, making history as the first woman ever to secure the backing of a major American political party. Clinton was selected last night on the second evening of the Democratic National Convention in Philadelphia. Participants tried to project unity following an opening night that was marked with much internal strife. Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, Clinton's rival in the Democratic race for the White House, once again threw in his support, as well as Clinton's husband, former U.S. President Bill Clinton, who endorsed his wife as an agent of change.
Hillary is uniquely qualified to seize the opportunities and reduce the risk we face. And she is still the best darn change maker I have ever known. You could drop her. You could drop her into any trouble spot. Pick one. Come back in a month, and somehow, some way, she will have made it better. That is just who she is. There are clear, achievable, affordable responses to our challenges. But we won't get to them if America makes the wrong choice in this election. That's why you should elect her. And you should elect her because she'll never quit when the going gets tough. She'll never quit on you.
A former First Lady, New York Senator, and Secretary of State Hillary Clinton enters the general election with a lengthy resume of public service. However, despite her skills and experience, Clinton seems to be scoring poorly among the American public, which has her lagging behind Republican candidate Donald Trump in recent polls. Virginia governor and close friend of the Clinton family, Terry McAuliffe, was recently in Israel and spoke to Israel Television's Yaakov Achimeir about Clinton's chances of becoming the first woman president of the United States. McAuliffe, also the former chairman of the DNC, is slated to address the Democratic convention later tonight.
This is a tough business running for president. And this is one reason why I love Hillary Clinton. She has been beaten up for 30 or 40 years. She has been playing politics at the highest levels in the globe. And when you play at that level, people are constantly trying to tear you down. They're trying to beat you. But you know what? Every time they hit Hillary, she gets back up right away, dusts herself off, and gets right back in the arena. It's not about her, she'll always tell you. It's about the things she wants to get done. So, I mean, of course, when you run for president, when I ran for governor, I got beaten up in American politics, and I'm sure it's the same here in Israeli politics. This is a tough blood sport. I mean, you get in it, you know, but listen, that's okay. We know if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. And the reason is, and she's been beaten up for years, but once we go to our convention at the later part of this month and she lays out her platform for America and where she wants to take it, then you'll see consistently, you'll see her numbers go up.
Don't you believe that the recent report by the FBI director about the email issue will not hurt her?
Well, they've now put it to rest as relates to any criminal charges. Listen, she made mistakes, and she said that. She's apologized. One criminal, but she made some dumb mistakes. And in retrospect, she said, I would never do it again. I wish I hadn't done it. But people make mistakes in life. But what Americans are talking about today is, income inequality. Are my children getting a good education? Are there going to be jobs for my children? That's what they want us to be talking about, not about, most people don't even understand what this whole email is about.
Maybe she will have to pay a very high political price.
I got to tell you, I think people have moved on once he made his decision. People are really interested in how's the economy doing? Am I bringing enough money home to provide for my family? People, the kitchen, what I call the kitchen table issues, that's what they're going to vote on. They're not going to vote on some email thing.
If you're looking for something special to do with the kids or grandchildren, then head on over to the Botanical Gardens right here in Jerusalem. Throughout the months of July and August, you'll find a magical summer activity called Enchanted Nights. When night falls, visitors enter into a world of fairy tales with fairies, goblins, and dwarfs leading you to 7 stations along the Discovery Trail. Each stop features incredible lighting, sound, and a unique experimental activity. Enchanted Nights at the Botanical Garden is open on Sundays through Thursdays and Saturday from 5 until 10 o'clock. I've been there twice with my kids and can highly recommend it. Also in the capital, a special summer exhibit at the Jerusalem Science Museum. What do a tomato, an eggplant, and a potato have in common? Who discovered wheat? How is ketchup made? You find all those answers at the Fields of Tomorrow exhibit, an interactive experience for the entire family. Along with the exhibition, a wide range of activities, scientific demonstrations, taste and smell and ecological workshops, guided tours, and a tractor display. The Jerusalem Science Museum is open every day during the month of August and guarantees hours of fun and learning for the whole family. In local money matters, shares were down in the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange while the shekel was up in foreign currency trading. Here are the numbers. Turning to the weather, and IBA's weather team says there will be a slight drop in temperatures tomorrow, mainly in the mountain areas. Here are the highs and lows in Israel and abroad. And that's all for this newscast. Please join us again tomorrow, same time, same channel, when Elon Aslan Levy will be at this desk. I'm Laura Cornfield, wishing you a good evening and shalom from Jerusalem.